On the plane, the girl, Kang Hai-ram, kept her sunglasses on. As the plane doors closed and prepared for takeoff, she began to doze off. Overcome with sleepiness, she accidentally dropped her sunglasses. A little girl sitting next to her picked them up. Kang Hai-ram realized something was wrong. She couldn't find her glasses, but noticed the little girl wearing them, looking cool. Kang Hai-ram felt tense, but forced a smile, asking the girl to return her glasses. The little girl shook her head, refusing. Kang Hai-ram's face darkened, not because of the girl, but because she saw something dirty, something horrifying. She was terrified, collapsing to the floor before struggling to regain her composure. Then she noticed it, dark shadows swirling around every passenger. Knowing what was coming, she frantically pounded on the door, demanding to get off the plane. Everyone thought she was crazy and warned her that she'd be taken to the station if she continued. But she preferred the station to staying on board. The plane was forced to stop because of her disruption. Even as she was being escorted away, she desperately urged everyone to leave the plane. Only after Kang Hai-ram was removed did the little girl return the sunglasses to another girl, asking her to give them back to the woman. The narrator comments that Kang Hai-ram's life was tragically marked. Since childhood, she had been different. She possessed the ability to see these shadows. When she was 3, her father gave her sunglasses, saying, "These will help you not see the shadows." Since then, her closet overflowed with sunglasses she'd worn throughout her life. But because the little girl had taken her glasses, Kang Hai-ram could see the shadows filling the cabin. Despite her commotion, the plane continued its scheduled takeoff. She knew, with dread, that the passengers and crew on that flight would not be returning. Soon after, news reports confirmed the plane crash. Kang Hai-ram was apprehended as a suspect, but she insisted she'd done nothing. The police wanted to know why she'd pleaded to get off the plane. She replied, "Because I saw shadows. My eyes can see the spirits of the deceased. This was the first time I've seen so many dark shadows." Hearing this, Detective Han Mugang had an epiphany. He remembered a previous encounter at a tea shop, where he'd been curious about her sunglasses while she worked. The manager, concerned about the store's image, had removed them, only to find another pair underneath. The manager removed those as well, leading Kang Hai-ram to grit her teeth and ask a customer, "What would you like to order?" The customer, however, rudely asked, "What are you staring at? Keep looking, and I'll poke your eyes out with this fork." The narrator emphasizes the importance of remembering this line. Kang Hai-ram glanced away, and then saw a dark shadow behind a man. Despite her fear, she couldn't help but look back. It was her ex-boyfriend. When his tea was ready, she grabbed his arm, saying, "Wait 3 more minutes before you go." He was annoyed. "What's wrong with you? What are you doing? Let go," she pleaded. "Even 1 minute, please wait," but he wouldn't stay. As he stepped out the door, 2 steps later, a car hit him, sending him flying. Han Mugang observed that Kang Hai-ram showed no surprise, as if she'd known this would happen. At the time, he'd found her strange, but couldn't pinpoint why. Now he understood her behavior. At the police station, a crowd jostled. A woman accidentally bumped into Kang Hai-ram. Without her glasses, Kang Hai-ram saw the shadows again. Han Mugang silently observed everything. He muttered, "Deadly shadows, soon, she will die." After leaving the station, Kang Hai-ram cursed the police as incompetent. A car horn interrupted. It was Han Mugang. He offered, "Let me give you a ride to cool off." Surprisingly, Kang Hai-ram readily agreed. Han Mugang thought, "I was just being polite," but Kang Hai-ram was ready, waiting for him to take her home. Ultimately, Han Mugang silently started the engine, unaware that this short ride would forever change his life. As they crossed a bridge, Kang Hai-ram unexpectedly lowered her sunglasses. Sure enough, she saw a dark shadow behind a young man who was about to jump. She put her glasses back on and muttered, "None of my business." Everyone urged the young man not to do anything rash. But Han Mugang said, "Don't worry, he won't jump. He comes here several times a month. Probably just trying to get attention." Kang Hai-ram thought, "Will he really die this time? I don't know. It's not my concern." Han Mugang, hearing this, felt a little annoyed. He looked at the young man and silently thought, "It's all right." The previous day, Kang Hai-ram's mother had stormed into the police station, angrily scolding her daughter. "Are you sick again? Where have you been?" Han Mugang thought perhaps she was having an episode and was talking nonsense. After dropping Kang Ha-ram off at home, he was about to leave when he saw her staring intently at him. This made him uneasy, but she was actually looking at the phone number on his car. Without a word, she turned and went upstairs. On his way home, Han Mugang received a text from an unknown number. He opened it to find a message calling him a stupid cop. He figured only Kang Ha-ram would dare to insult him like that. Thinking she was just upset, he didn't pay it much mind. But suddenly, he saw the young man who had been about to jump, unexpectedly raise his hand and then fall backward. Before anyone could react, he plunged into the river. Han Mugang was frantic. He couldn't understand why the young man had done such a reckless thing. Falling from that height was a near certain death sentence. Soon, the young man was pulled out, but sadly, this time he was truly dead. His mother wept uncontrollably. Her son was gone before he could even start a family. Han Mugang suddenly remembered Kang Ha-ram. That peculiar girl was truly extraordinary. Even while showering, she wore sunglasses, her expression one of enjoyment despite the strange look she received. But she was used to it. That night, a drunk Han Mugang went to find Kang Ha-ram and said, "The man on the bridge is dead." Kang Ha-ram simply replied, "I told you so." Han Mugang felt immense regret. If he had listened to Kang Ha-ram, perhaps he could have saved him. Kang Ha-ram said, "You can go home now," but he blocked her doorway, saying, "You are an angel sent from God." He proposed a partnership to save people on the brink of death. The offer was casual, but the implication was significant. The next day, Kang Ha-ram removed her glasses, as if making a decision. She got bangs cut, the hairstyle that had hidden her eyes for so many years. This was the first time she'd gone out without her sunglasses. She looked around, checking for shadows, and, finding none, proceeded on her way. But after just a few steps, she saw a shadow behind a mother and child. Wanting to know the cause of that spirit's death, she touched it. She learned the woman had died of illness. She calmed herself, reminding herself that birth, aging, sickness, and death are natural processes. But after leaving, she saw an obese man. This man would change the fate of many. Kang Ha-ram pulled out a wad of cash and began counting it. The older gentleman sitting opposite her didn't know what she intended. Then she said, "This money is yours if you stay here with me all morning." The man laughed, asking what she was up to, then loudly shooed her away, even throwing the money in her face. He's not that easily fooled, Kang Ha-ram thought. She told herself, kindness is not always appreciated. I've done my best. If the Grim Reaper wants him, I can't stop it. Earlier, she had passed a man and seen a dark shadow behind him. This meant he would die soon. To find out why, she touched the shadow and learned he would die in an unforeseen accident. The previous night, Han Mugang had expressed his desire to work with her to save those on the brink of death. But he didn't know that he was also grappling with his own troubles. Han Mugang threw a photograph to his girlfriend, Su-won. After seeing it, she looked very tense. Han Mugang asked, "Did you plan to approach me from the beginning?" Su-won remained silent. Han Mugang said, "Even if you don't say it, I'll find out." But he didn't know that his own death was approaching. The next day, Han Mugang received a call from the unusual girl while at work. She said she agreed to his proposal of saving people on the brink of death. "I'm seeing someone who's about to have an accident. Come quickly." Before Kang Ha-ram could give the address, Han Mugang interrupted. He said he was busy and couldn't go, claiming that his offer to help had been drunken talk. "Hey, don't appear in front of me again. Watch out, or I'll gouge your eyes out." Now she had to rely on herself. The older man, however, proved remarkably dense. Just as she was about to leave, she remembered his impending death, so she began deliberately provoking him. Sure enough, he became furious and was about to resort to violence. Kang Ha-ram offered herself up as a target. The man panicked, fleeing in terror, believing he was dealing with a crazy person. But Kang Ha-ram stubbornly persisted in preventing his escape, even after he shoved her to the ground. Then, she recklessly slammed her head against the table. The man was taken aback, seeing the blood on her forehead. Unable to remain calm any longer, he hastily grabbed his belongings and ran off. Han Mugang arrived just as he tripped, causing both of them to fall. Before they could get up, Kang Ha-ram stepped on them. She quickly told Han Mu-gang to arrest the old man, resulting in his wrongful arrest. Han Mu-gang asked, "Is there anything else, or can I go now?" But Kang Ha-ram replied, "It's not over yet." Through the shadows, she learned that the older man was being controlled by a villain. This villain demanded a specific person be called, threatening to kill the old man otherwise. She could see the person the villain wanted, but before she could find them, the gunman fired at the hostage. She remembered the gunman wearing a watch and a military uniform. This meant that even if the old man survived, someone else would have to die in his place. Despite Han Mu-gang's busy schedule, this matter became even more urgent. They followed their memories to the scene and inadvertently spotted the person the kidnapper was looking for. They approached the girl with a "let's see what happens" attitude. The girl revealed that the man was her boyfriend. Han Mu-gang confirmed that a soldier had deserted that morning. To change the future, they told the girl to arrange a meeting with her boyfriend. However, Han Mu-gang didn't know his own fate was about to take a different turn. At the restaurant, a man in strange clothing entered and sat down in front of the girl. Han Mu-gang knew his target had appeared. He took a sip of tea and signaled to begin. As the man asked his girlfriend not to break up with him, Han Mu-gang approached, feigning a question about the time. As the man raised his hand to check his watch, Han Mu-gang grabbed his arm. His real intention was to allow Kang Ha-ram to identify the man. He was slightly tense because he'd only been on the job for less than a month. He'd had to practice several times to quickly handcuff someone. The man was shocked. No one knew he'd secretly escaped. Then he realized his girlfriend had informed the police. Of course, he was arrested for desertion. This was the first time Kang Ha-ram realized how fulfilling it was to use her abilities to save others. The old man, who was supposed to die needlessly, was locked up in the station. He suddenly heard a ringing phone and urgently asked a police officer to answer it. This changed Han Mu-gang's destiny. Shortly after, Kang Ha-ram went to the station to find Han Mu-gang, but he wasn't there. As she waited, she saw a photograph. The necklace Han Mu-gang was wearing was the same one she had given to her neighbor as a child. No wonder she felt a sense of familiarity when she first met him. It turned out her childhood neighbor had become a criminal detective. She silently lamented that she had only realized it now. The deserter was released, which struck Kang Ha-ram as odd. In her vision, he'd worn his watch on his right wrist, but he was wearing it on his left. She rushed to the police, asking, "Where's his gun?" Surprisingly, he didn't have one. Hearing this, Kang Ha-ram murmured, "Could I have been wrong?" At that moment, everyone started clamoring as the TV news reported a deserter holding a hostage. This was the scene she had foreseen, but the hostage had been changed to Han Mu-gang. The older man from earlier said, "Han Mu-gang went to pick up my mother for me." It turned out that the older man had received a call from a nursing home, asking him to pick up his confused mother. The nursing home was located on the second floor of a shopping mall. Remembering Kang Ha-ram's prediction that the older man would die as a hostage, Han Mu-gang had gone in his place. This meant that the older man's fate had been transferred to Han Mu-gang. Kang Ha-ram shook her head. She already knew the outcome. Sure enough, the sniper fired one shot, killing two. Kang Ha-ram's legs went weak with fear. She berated herself. If it weren't for my meddling, Han Mu-gang wouldn't be dead. Then she rushed home, muttering, "I'm guilty, I'm unlucky. I have to follow Han Mu-gang." She took off her shoelaces, intending to end her life. Han Mu-gang, meanwhile, was still at the hospital. His girlfriend, a doctor, received a notification and rushed over. Seeing her boyfriend there, she was terrified, but quickly composed herself, swiftly beginning emergency treatment. However, Han Mu-gang still passed away. Looking at the Iki, Su-won collapsed, knowing that this time Han Mu-gang couldn't be saved. Kang Ha-ram was determined to die. She kicked over a chair, her body swaying in midair. As she was strangling herself, she suddenly heard that the hostage, Han Mu-gang, was still alive. But she was trying to follow Han Mu-gang, yet now she was hanging herself in her room. She no longer wanted to die, but didn't know who to call for help. The problem was, hadn't Han Mu-gang died instantly? The doctor had confirmed his time of death, and his body had already been taken to the morgue. But the appearance of a masked doctor changed everything. He came looking for Han Mu-gang's lifeless body, and took out a scalpel, intending to remove the bullet from his head. However, as he began, Han Mu-gang suddenly awoke, sat up, and stretched. This terrified the doctor, who urinated in his pants and fled. The mother on the other side was still crying. "No, my Han Mu-gang can't die like this. Where's my son? I want to see my son." The doctor rushed out. "Han Mu-gang is very much alive. I just saw him in the hallway." The mother hurried over, but couldn't find Han Mu-gang. They had to check the security cameras to see that Han Mu-gang was safe and sound. The doctors were all stunned. Kang Ha-ram was still hanging in mid-air, but her phone was ringing. However, she couldn't answer it. The caller was a young man standing outside her door. No matter how much he called, there was no response from inside. He thought no one was home, and was about to leave when his dog started barking inside. Realizing something was wrong, the young man rushed into the house. Fortunately, he managed to save Kang Ha-ram just as she was about to die. The dog licked her face until she regained consciousness. "What's wrong with this dog? It's so dirty." Only then did she notice someone else in her house. She grabbed his shirt and asked, "Did you sneak in to steal something?" He quickly said, "If it weren't for me, you would be dead." Only now did Ha-ram fully regain her senses. Then the young man introduced himself. "My surname is Oh, and my name is Man-su. My father wanted me to live a long life, so he named me this, and that dog is your lifesaver. Although you don't know me, I saw you when you were arrested as a suspect at the police station. You said you saw deadly spirits. I was there too. I believed what you said, so I got your phone number and address and came to ask you to check if there are any dark shadows on me and my dog." But Kang Ha-ram only asked, "Do you have a car?" Now, she only wanted to know Han Mu-gang's condition. Then, she happened to see him on the roadside, so she quickly told Man-su to stop the car. She was about to get out when Man-su stopped her, asking if she saw any dark shadows on them. Kang Ha-ram, reluctantly, said there wasn't a problem for now. "Want no shadows? Go home and take a bath." Was she serious? At this point, Kang Ha-ram only cared about Han Mu-gang, unaware that he was no longer the same Han Mu-gang, and certainly not the neighbor she knew. As soon as Han Mu-gang woke up, he placed the doctor's hand on his chest. "Why is it beating so fast?" His girlfriend, the doctor, thought he still loved her, but he believed it was a physical problem. He dismissed her. Soo-won couldn't understand why her boyfriend acted like a completely different person after waking up. That was indeed the truth. The previous night, Kang Ha-ram had found him and apologized for meddling, causing him danger. But he coldly sent her away. Looking at the bracelet he'd flung away, Kang Ha-ram made up her mind. Seeing the doctor wasn't there, she quietly went to Han Mu-gang's bed and used her phone to examine his face. Now, she was certain he was the person she was looking for. She still remembered that year, when she was crying, and he promised to protect her for life. He said he only liked her. They even pinky swore. She had given him a self-made bracelet, hoping he wouldn't forget her even when he went abroad. But this time, he was gone for 10 years. Fortunately, their fate wasn't over. Finally, fate brought them together again. Kang Ha-ram put the bracelet back on him, but Han Mu-gang unexpectedly pushed her down. "Who are you?" "It's me, Appa." Han Mu-gang's head suddenly throbbed painfully, but Kang Ha-ram persisted. "We promised each other when we were little. I'm Kang Ha-ram. Don't forget me, I'm Kang Ha-ram." "Get lost. You're so disappointing." Kang Ha-ram was furious and didn't want to stay any longer. But when she got home, she was horrified to find her house ransacked. She yelled, demanding to know what he was looking for. Finally, he found it. Kang Ha-ram lunged to get it back, but was shoved aside. He said he was just borrowing it. Kang Ha-ram resorted to her final tactic. "You know what kind of eyes I have, don't you?" But he didn't care. "If you take the money and leave, not a single step further, you'll die." Then, she began her performance. He could tell she had seen something, but he stubbornly insisted she stop pretending because he didn't believe her. Now, all he cared about was the money. Kang Ha-ram was desperate, wondering why her mother had found someone like him. She wished she didn't have such a stepfather. The next day, she put on her glasses and brushed her teeth. But the more she brushed, the angrier she got. Why did she have to endure this? Being bullied by her stepfather was one thing, but why didn't even Han Mugang care about her? No, I have to do something. Han Mugang was still in the hospital, looking for something. Then, he found a glass ball in his pocket. This was more precious to him than his life. Then, he dressed neatly and put on his shoes. Seeing no one around, he went into the refrigerator, intending to do something. But at that moment, he saw someone coming, so he closed the refrigerator and planned to look for another opportunity. But Kang Ha-ram kept following him. Then, he saw an approaching bus and quickly boarded it, leaving Kang Ha-ram struggling to catch up. He urgently ordered the driver to go, but the driver told him to pay the fare first. While they were talking, Kang Ha-ram managed to get on. She conveniently paid Han Mugang's fare. Seeing this, Han Mugang tried to slip away, but the doors closed. Kang Ha-ram hadn't expected him to remain restless even after getting on. Just then, an elderly woman boarded and squeezed towards Han Mugang. He understood her intentions but said, "You won't die if you don't worry." She glanced at him and said, "Young people nowadays are so uneducated." But he retorted, "People these days have no manners. Old and yet so ill-mannered. You brat, don't you have parents?" The old woman, enraged, threw her bag at Han Mugang, but he deflected it, hitting Kang Ha-ram and causing her to fall. Han Mugang seized the opportunity to escape the bus. He was in a hurry because he had important business to attend to. For speed, he used his instantaneous teleportation ability, confident that the person he was looking for would be there. So, he sat, waiting for the rabbit by the tree in front of the school. Women passing by didn't dare look him in the eye, while men glanced at him with disdain. At first, he thought it was because of his clothes. But when a car with a model's advertisement passed by, Han Mugang suddenly realized he needed to improve his appearance. The salesperson began to lavish praise, saying he had a physique like a clothes rack. Han Mugang, flattered, asked the price. The salesperson calculated 2,370,000 won. Han Mugang readily paid, even telling the salesperson not to give him change. However, the cashier's face turned pale after receiving the money because Han Mugang had used underworld currency, unusable in the human world. He even turned back to question the salesperson, making everyone wonder about his sanity. In this precarious situation, Han Mugang pulled the curtain closed. The staff thought he was probably a runaway, but they waited and waited without seeing him emerge. One of them peeked inside, only to find that the customer had vanished. Shortly after, Han Mugang emerged from the women's restroom, calmly examining his outfit. Two women screamed, startling him, but he couldn't be blamed. Since he could remember, he had been a hell messenger with pure-blood lineage. His job was to find people about to die using the glass ball, then escort their souls to hell. They could traverse space through gates, and naturally, humans couldn't see them. But one day, a colleague unexpectedly found him after picking up Yi Jung's mission ball. That black-numbered ball was his. This meant Yi Jung had escaped. The only way to escape to the human world was to possess the body of a deceased person. In a two-person team, if one member committed a fault, the other would be implicated. If discovered by surveillance, they would be transformed into dogs at the Hell Gate. Hearing this, Black didn't dare delay. He had to find Yi Jung quickly. Coincidentally, he encountered Han Mugang, who had been shot dead. When someone dies, the Grim Reaper naturally has to act. He took out the ball and saw Han Mugang's image inside. This meant it was Han Mugang's time to go. Black knew he was a police officer and had a bold idea. If I want to bring Yi Jung back, I must also use a human body. With Han Mugang's death, Black immediately seized the opportunity to possess his body. After becoming human, he immediately went to meet his two Reaper colleagues. But because he was rather blunt, he offended them. And when they tried to arrest him, they couldn't touch him. Just as Kang Ha-ram was experiencing stomach pains and calling a taxi to the hospital, she suddenly saw two dark shadows beside Han Mugang. Worried about his safety, she quickly told the driver to stop. Suddenly, a bicycle swerved, knocking Han Mugang off the railing, causing Black Lance's glass ball to fall. He rushed to pick it up. Kang Ha-ram, seeing him run into the street, warned, Be careful. Inside the ball, Kang Ha-ram's image appeared. Han Mu-gang suddenly realized he had met her a long time ago. At that time, he was on a mission. His target was the man in the car, whose lifespan had ended. But the man was oblivious, innocently buying coffee for his girlfriend. Ironically, the barista was his ex-girlfriend. The girl covered her face, not out of shyness towards her ex-boyfriend, but because she saw the shadow behind him. At that time, he noticed her and felt something was wrong with her gaze. Sure enough, she told the man to wait a while for the mission to proceed smoothly. Black was about to take the man, but Kang Ha-ram touched him and told the man to wait 3 more minutes before leaving. At that moment, he felt very bewildered, but luckily, the man didn't listen to her. So, as soon as he left the shop, he died, while Kang Ha-ram had predicted the unfortunate event. Thinking the matter was settled, he didn't pay attention. But now, her image appeared in the ball, meaning his next mission was to take her soul to hell. But now, he thought she might be able to help him. So he closed the ball. Immediately after, a car sped towards him. Seeing this, Ha-ram rushed to save him, but fainted herself. The mission was to take her soul. Black made a decision. He would take Kang Ha-ram home. Since he hadn't yet found Yi-jun, he couldn't take Kang Ha-ram's soul to hell. Looking at the rope hanging in her room, he realized she hadn't had an easy life, so he decided to quickly find the other person to help Kang Ha-ram escape her earthly suffering. One day, Black went to the school to look for Yi-jun, believing he would come there to find his sister. He suddenly saw a student acting strangely. This student had been dead for a while, so how was he alive now? He quickly pulled a student aside and asked. The boy, who had already died, asked how Black knew. He had jumped from a building before because he failed a grade. Luckily, he hit a tree, so he survived. Black suspected Yi-jun had possessed the boy's body. Meanwhile, Kang Ha-ram had found a new job, selling insurance. She used her abilities to see if a person was safe. Her next client was the daughter of a businessman, so she went to school to investigate. Coincidentally, Han Mu-gang was also there. Then, both of them were surprised to see each other. What? What are you doing here? Kang Ha-ram looked into the classroom and saw a dark shadow in a male student. Han Mu-gang heard her muttering and approached, asking, What are you saying? Kang Ha-ram said, Why are you pretending? I can see the shadows of death, so why pretend? But Kang Ha-ram didn't know the person in front of her was not the Han Mu-gang she knew, but a hell messenger. Now, Black remembered the truck incident and the words, stay for 3 minutes, then go. What are you saying? Let me go? Even for a minute. Now he believed Kang Ha-ram could see the shadows of death. He wanted to use Kang Ha-ram's eyes to help him find Yi-jun's soul. He pushed Kang Ha-ram, asking her, Which student do you see the dark shadow in? The boy sitting by the window. Then, Han Mu-gang pointed a gun at the boy's head. He wanted to force Yi-jun's soul to come out, but he discovered this wasn't the person he was looking for. The soul pleaded for mercy. Seeing Black's indifference, he threatened, I heard you're running away. If you take me, I'll report you. Go ahead and arrest me. As a Grim Reaper, how can you be threatened by an ordinary soul? Black feigned apprehension, telling the boy to re-enter the student's body. As the student was about to leave, he grabbed his collar, knowing that if a soul possessed another person and died a second time, that soul would forget everything. The boy wouldn't remember him. The girl gently comforted the child, and a vision suddenly appeared. She clearly saw the boy being locked in a suitcase and then buried alive. The perpetrator had white bandages on their hands, with a distinct mark. This was Kang Ha-ram, the one who could see the shadows of death. Earlier, Kang Ha-ram held the insurance contract of a VIT client and used her special eyes to check if the client had any dark shadows, meaning there was nothing wrong. Afterward, she went to a convenience store to buy water, and, while paying, casually saw a boy eating something. She looked around but didn't see his parents, so she asked, Where's your mother? But the boy's actions were somewhat unusual. The owner heard the sound and approached, asking, What's wrong? Kang Ha-ram asked. Isn't this boy from this neighborhood? No. Kang Ha-ram realized the boy seemed lost, so she asked with concern, Where does your house lie? Then the boy led Kang Ha-ram outside. You don't know where you live? What? Yoon-hui? Your building's name is Yoon-hui? Yoon-hui apartment? Kang Ha-ram didn't know what to do with the boy. Anyone who didn't know might think she was bullying him, so Kang Ha-ram could only take him to the police station. Seeing the boy didn't have socks, the kind-hearted woman gave him hers. Soon, the police found a way to contact the boy's father and told Kang Ha-ram that he would arrive soon. At this moment, the boy suddenly needed to use the restroom. But as he was going, a waterfall unexpectedly started spraying. Kang Ha-ram had to take off the boy's pants and wash them. But upon returning, her hand touched a dark shadow on the boy, beating to the scene at the beginning. Shortly after, the boy's father arrived. As the father was about to hug his son, Kang Ha-ram unexpectedly pushed him away. The father was confused until the police said Kang Ha-ram was the one who found his son. Kang Ha-ram angrily criticized the couple for their lack of care for their child. They bowed repeatedly, apologizing. The police said that the boy often ran away to play, so Kang Ha-ram changed her view of the parents. Then, the father hugged his son, and the family left. Kang Ha-ram was about to get up when she saw a wallet on the ground and picked it up to look. It turned out to be the wallet of the boy's father. Kang Ha-ram quickly ran after them to return it, then kindly advised, "Don't let him get lost like that again. Keep an eye on him, keep him at home." The couple was also embarrassed by her advice. In short, they had to keep the boy at home. The parents found it strange, but only bowed their heads in acceptance of her goodwill. After they left, Kang Ha-ram stood still, staring at the boy's dark shadow, unable to calm down. The next day, Kang Ha-ram woke up early and ran to the boy's house, intending to prevent the perpetrator. Seeing the boy's father leave for work a short time later, she discovered a strange man arriving afterward. It turned out he was the boy's teacher. The boy hadn't been to school for several days, so the teacher came to check on him. Knowing he was the boy's teacher, Kang Ha-ram quickly asked, "Did you see anyone with bandaged hands?" Before she could finish, a man riding a bicycle unfortunately ran over a banana peel. The teacher was injured, saving Kang Ha-ram, and the injury was coincidentally on his hand. After arriving at the hospital, seeing the familiar bandage on his hand, Kang Ha-ram became suspicious and followed him to investigate. She thought he was the perpetrator, but there was no mark on the bandage. What to do now? Black located Kang Ha-ram using a tracking device. He wanted to use Kang Ha-ram's yin-yang eyes to find someone. At that moment, he saw a young boy exit a building, followed by two Grim Reapers. He realized that following the Reapers would lead him to Kang Ha-ram. Kang Ha-ram followed her teacher to school. He seemed friendly with the students, making her question her suspicions. She was about to leave when she noticed him stamping something, which made her uneasy. The scene that followed was even more shocking. The teacher accidentally dropped a stamp. A mischievous student picked it up and stamped it onto a bandage on the teacher's hand. Kang Ha-ram was now certain he was the murderer who would kill the boy, so she quickly took out her phone to film the teacher's face. Meanwhile, Black followed the boy to a residential area. The boy didn't enter a building but climbed a pipe. The teacher, seeing the boy on his security camera, fearing exposure, rushed home. Kang Ha-ram saw the teacher leave and followed him, immediately calling her boss to investigate his background. He had a prior record, a conviction for pedophilia and filming child pornography in Paris. Ha-ram was shocked. She hurried after him, but at a three-way intersection, she nearly got hit by a car. She apologized profusely to the driver. When she looked back, the teacher had vanished. She went to the rooftop for a better view, and finally spotted him pulling a suitcase out of the apartment complex. She called the boy's father, learning the boy wasn't home and the father was searching for him. Kang Ha-ram confirmed the boy was in the teacher's suitcase. As the teacher loaded the suitcase into his car, Kang Ha-ram confronted him, causing him to slam on the brakes. She grabbed his head, demanding he reveal the truth. He violently shoved her to the ground, but she relentlessly climbed onto the car's hood, forcing him to stop. He responded by repeatedly accelerating and braking until she fell off. Despite her injuries, she confronted him again, her hand trapped in the car window. He dragged her along, her screaming for him to stop ignored. Because Kang Ha-ram discovered his terrible secret, he abducted her. After a short chase, Black appeared and stopped the car with his hands, causing it to jolt violently. The teacher, terrified by Black's imposing presence, was pulled out of the vehicle. Black delivered a series of punches and blows to the teacher, ending with a swift kick that knocked him unconscious. Kang Ha-ram opened the trunk. Instead of the boy, they found a young girl. Both were shocked. It turned out the boy had tried to get the girl to safety, but her fear caused a delay. When the teacher returned, he grabbed the girl. The boy, terrified, fell from a height. The incident attracted the attention of nearby residents. The teacher, intending to render the girl unconscious, was met with resistance. In a struggle, he accidentally hit her head against the door frame. Believing he had killed her, he put her body in the suitcase. The boy was taken to the hospital in time. Black witnessed everything. The girl was also taken to the hospital. Fortunately, her injuries weren't serious. She was an orphan, living with her grandmother, who suffered from a debilitating neurological condition that prevented her from providing proper care. The perverted teacher was arrested and charged. Black, believing the case was closed, pulled Kang Hiram along, urging her to search for the soul with him. She complained of pain, but Black dismissed it as feigned. He grumbled about her hand holding, "I'm a criminal investigator. What kind of male student holds a female student's hand like that?" But endured her scolding because he needed her help. Kang Hiram insisted on visiting the boy, wanting to confirm if the shadow on him had disappeared. Black, while exasperated by her stubbornness, couldn't argue. Seeing the shadow gone, she breathed a sigh of relief, unaware that it wasn't the boy she'd saved. The boy she had tried to save was already dead, murdered by his hateful father the previous night because the father considered his son foolish. People targeted by the Grim Reaper were destined to die regardless. Kang Hiram investigated a VIP client for an insurance company. She found no shadow, but the client later died in a car accident. As a child, Kang Hiram had seen the Grim Reaper's shadow. Ironically, she had become a top insurance agent. Though she'd confirmed the absence of a shadow, the client's death was unsettling. Days earlier, she'd been at the victim's home investigating. Seeing a childhood photo of the victim, the Grim Reaper's shadow appeared behind her. It turned out she knew the victim as a child. The victim had a neurological illness and worked at a hotel to make ends meet. After the investigation, she compared the photo to a man who'd made a transaction with the girl, finding a diary entry from Kang Ha-ram's father's investigation confirming the transaction. She couldn't have predicted that this information would lead to his murder. The next day, the police chief visited the company's chairman because he remembered the chairman wearing a watch similar to one in a video 10 years earlier. He checked his own wrist, but the watch was gone. He distinctly remembered the man in the video wearing it. The chairman's eldest son entered, recognizing the chief as his father's friend. He noticed the watch on the son's wrist and asked about his father's butterfly watch. The son claimed it was now his. The chief was shocked the son was the man who had made the transaction with the girl. The son feigned ignorance to avoid suspicion. After leaving, the chief contacted criminal investigation, claiming he had important information to share. The chief, engrossed in the evidence, looked up to see an oncoming truck. A mysterious figure exited the vehicle, and the chief was killed. The figure used the chief's phone. It's handled. The accident was no accident. Police found a notebook, a photo, and a hotel advertisement in the chief's car. They reprimanded Kang Ha-ram for confirming the absence of a shadow behind the chief, only for him to die in an accident. She couldn't explain it, arguing that she couldn't be with someone 24/7 to guarantee the identification of the killer. The real killer was the man with the butterfly watch, who enjoyed watching the video of a beautiful woman. The police ordered the arrest of that woman, but her identity and connection to the killer remained a mystery. "He's the most clueless man I've ever seen. A beautiful girl practically threw herself at him, and he reacted like that. He didn't even help her up, and then he called her unstable. He calmly told her to follow him." Ha-ram inwardly grumbled about his lack of assistance. Seeing her remain on the ground, Black offered a hand, but only so she could grab onto his jacket. He remembered letting her touch his chest before, but when she didn't take his help this time, he turned to leave. Ha-ram called him back. Black, now a Grim Reaper, only wanted to use Kang Ha-ram's yin-yang eyes to find his colleague's soul. Ha-ram asked why he was investigating the old woman. She was a suspect in a series of murders. Ha-ram was shocked. "But she seems so kind," Black explained. "The more ruthless the killer, the more harmless they appear." Ha-ram, enlightened, decided to use her yin-yang eyes to help people. A man in black riding a motorcycle appeared before the old woman. Black told Ha-ram to check for dark shadows. She saw nothing unusual. Black told her to get closer. Upon closer inspection, she saw a dark shadow. She tried to call out, but he was out of sight. They chased after him. During the chase, Hiram fell. Black was blocked by thugs those Han-Mu gang had beaten earlier, preventing him from catching the man. Wanting to pursue the shadowed figure, Black fought them, but by the time he was done, the man had long disappeared. Later, Black entered a restaurant and saw Yi-Jung's sister with a man who was looking at her intently. Thinking it was Yi-Jung, Black yelled, "You dare do that to me?" It turned out to be a misunderstanding. Hiram arrived. Black asked her to check for shadows. She denied seeing any. He insisted she look closer. She looked at the man's helmet and realized Black mistook him for the man in black. Black, realizing his mistake, quickly left. They sat down to eat. Hiram wanted Black to try the restaurant's stew. It was delicious. He refused the savory meat, so Hiram ate it herself. Seeing her enjoyment, Black cupped her chin and wiped the stew from her lips with his thumb. Nearby female students admired his actions. Black was about to use a napkin, but changed his mind, wanting to taste it himself. Hiram felt embarrassed, but Black, captivated by the flavor, ate directly from her lips. A female student asked Yi-Jung's sister why the man on the motorcycle gave her money. This attracted Black's attention. Yi-Jung's sister hated the man on TV. He was her brother's boss, and she found him despicable. She said he bullied her brother to the point of suicide. Black watched the man on TV, thinking Yi-Jung would surely seek revenge, and that he'd entered someone's body to find out. Black resolved to find his Grim Reaper friend, Yi-Jung, no matter what. It was a lavish Halloween party. The attendees were either wealthy or influential. Kang Ha-ram, heavily made up, attended to check on her VIP client's safety. While she was taking photos with her boss, Black arrived. She was surprised to see Han-Mu gang, looking incredibly handsome and sophisticated. Black knew that the idol, Rio, was there, and Hee-jung would likely be present for revenge. While observing potential suspects, Black was approached by a masked man who stole his phone. Even a Grim Reaper like him didn't notice anything unusual. Han-Mu gang's girlfriend received a call. The mysterious person used Black's phone to contact her. She was startled that the voice wasn't her boyfriend's. The caller said, "If you want to save your boyfriend, come here." The idol had arrived. Soon, the party officially began. Black observed from above. Han-Nu gang's girlfriend, Soo-won, approached him. Neither knew they were being watched. Soo-won explained that her boyfriend was going to America for further studies and came to say goodbye. She kissed him. Ha-ram felt a pang of jealousy, but Black pushed Soo-won away. He wasn't Han-Nu gang. He was a Grim Reaper. Suddenly, someone tripped a circuit breaker. The lights went out. Black saw Yuan leave. Ha-ram, dejected, stood still. Someone bumped into her. Her special ability alerted her that this person was about to die, but the darkness prevented her from identifying them. The power returned, and the party resumed. She wanted to find the person. Black couldn't find the woman and investigated. A masked man bumped into him. Black noticed the man was injured and suspected him of being the one who attacked him earlier. He chased him, even blocking a truck, but the person he was looking for wasn't inside. The man escaped. Black pursued him, only to discover that he was chasing Han-Mu gang's girlfriend. She was his target. When they passed through the tunnel, unexpectedly, Black followed the pipe and climbed onto the car. The driver quickly swerved to throw Black off, but Black held on tightly and calmly sat on top, punching the windshield, creating a large hole. He grabbed the steering wheel, but the other man fought back. Seeing this was ineffective, the man resorted to fighting with his fists. Han-Mu gang's girlfriend witnessed everything. Black unfastened his seatbelt, grabbed the man's head, and slammed it against the steering wheel. In a flash, the man broke free and slammed on the brakes. Black fell due to inertia, but he was unharmed. Still enraged, he charged towards the man, but was ambushed. Black was beaten until he spat blood. "A mere mortal dares to attack me," he growled, then lunged at the man, engaging in a fight. The man was no match for the Grim Reaper. Soon he was defeated. Black stepped on the man's face, but the man secretly used a knife to slash Black's leg, and then stabbed him in the stomach. Taking the opportunity, he pushed Black over the railing, sending him plummeting from the bridge. Han-Mu gang's blood gushed from his abdomen. His girlfriend was captured by the assassin. Black opened his eyes and discovered he couldn't leave Han-Mu gang's body. Later, in the party restroom, he wondered, "Why can't I leave this body?" He pulled out the knife. At that moment, Kang Ha-ram entered. Not wanting her to see him struggling, Black pushed her away. Kang Ha-ram said she had just seen a dark shadow and wanted to help Black find the person. "Wait outside, I'll be out soon," Black said. He cleaned himself and went out, pulling Kang Ha-ram away. Afterward, Kang Ha-ram's heart pounded. She had seen someone kissing Han Mu-gang at the party. Back home, Black asked his senior, "Why can't I leave this body after being stabbed and falling into the water?" The GM knew the truth. This Grim Reaper was Kang Ha-ram's real neighbor, and the body belonged to his younger brother. Because he couldn't find his own body, the Grim Reaper didn't remember who he was. But the GM wouldn't tell Black this, only saying he didn't know either. The assassin took Han Mu-gang's girlfriend to an old warehouse and brutally beat her. The mysterious person wearing a butterfly watch wanted the assassin to find Black. The living must see the living, the dead must see the corpse. The next day, Black dressed impeccably and went out to find Kang Ha-ram, only to discover he could no longer instantly teleport. He remembered the GM's words about a side effect: "You might not be able to teleport at will anymore." Unable to teleport? Why? You're dreaming because you're becoming human, and humans can't teleport. The assassin across the street watched in astonishment, seeing him alive. Unable to teleport, Black walked to Kang Ha-ram's house. He found a key in his pocket, and realized he should find Han Mu-gang's car to get to Kang Ha-ram. After a while, he finally found a human mode of transportation, quickly got in, and went to find Kang Ha-ram. He thought he'd know how to drive it, but it took him a while to even open the car with the key. Then, the boy removed the girl's sunglasses. She saw a vision: he's going to die. Kang Ha-ram was terrified and didn't know what to do. The boy looked at his watch and said he was late, quickly leaving. Kang Ha-ram wanted to chase after him and tell him about the dark shadow, but she noticed dark shadows behind every student. It meant they were all going to die. The boy asked Kang Ha-ram if she felt uncomfortable anywhere, but she just pulled his hand and said, "Don't go to the movies tomorrow." The boy asked, "Which movie?" "Tomorrow." Kang Ha-ram realized they were going to be in danger tomorrow and urged him not to go. Another student urged him, "Don't be late, don't go." The boy ignored Kang Ha-ram. His parents weren't wealthy, so they sold their wedding rings to buy him movie tickets to be with his friends. This, however, led to their separation in life and death. As Kang Ha-ram predicted, the movie theater collapsed the next day, and all 300 students perished. His parents stumbled to the scene, asking if their son's name was on the list of the dead. Surprisingly, it wasn't. They breathed a sigh of relief, but before their joy could settle, a police officer retrieved a box from a corner and asked them to identify if it was their son's hand. When the father opened the box, the mother couldn't bear it. Inside was their son's hand, bearing the mother's wedding ring he'd recently redeemed. Later, the parents of the deceased students went to the government demanding an investigation into the tragic deaths of the 300 students. However, the head official wasn't there. He had reportedly died in a traffic accident. The case ended there. Years later, Kang Ha-ram accidentally bumped into an old man. She sensed he would be killed by the butterfly watch wearer, unaware that he was the father of the boy from the movie theater incident. Later, at the chairman's office, a similar incident occurred. Kang Ha-ram bumped into the chairman, sensing his impending death at the hands of the butterfly watch killer, who would likely remove his breathing tube. To find the killer, she took Black to the old man's residence. Kang Ha-ram found a photograph on the table and discovered the old man was the father of the boy. They then sought out his close friend, inquiring about recent encounters with him. The friend stated he hadn't seen him since the movie theater collapse 15 years prior. "Is something wrong with him?" "Not that I know of," the friend replied. Black deliberately knocked a cup to the floor near the friend's feet. The friend quickly took off his shoes and changed his socks. Black accused him of lying, pointing out that his shoe prints matched those found at the old man's house. Kang Ha-ram realized the friend knew her boss's father, making him suspicious. They waited outside, eventually seeing him leave, and followed him to a villa to determine if he was the killer and to see if he possessed the butterfly watch. Black told Kang Ha-ram to wait in the car while he investigated. Inside, Black carefully examined the room, eventually finding the butterfly watch in a closet. But is he really the killer? I've never seen a Grim Reaper this clean. Black fought with the flies in the suspect's house, accidentally knocking over the evidence, proof of the suspect embezzling relief funds. Kang Ha-ram checked it. She suspected this was the document the old man had spent a long time searching for, which motivated the murder. They arrested him and went to the hospital to confirm if the old man was the butterfly watch killer. Black saw a truck, the one the old man drove. After Kang Ha-ram went inside, Black saw the old man emerge, followed by 2 Grim Reapers. He remembered the attack at the old man's house after Black's discovery. Black had overpowered him. Black asked if the watch was his. The old man admitted to stealing it. He had snuck into the boy's father's house to steal the expensive watch, in his attempt to find the real culprit. Black followed the old man in his car, while Kang Ha-ram saw a dark shadow near the chairman and perceived his impending death at the hands of the butterfly watch killer. She touched the shadow, realizing the old man wasn't the killer. Otherwise, the boy's father could be killed at any moment. Kang Ha-ram checked the security camera footage, noting the man's clothes matched those of the person she bumped into the previous day. Black followed the boy's father to a warehouse, witnessing a kidnapping, with 2 Grim Reapers present. Black recalled Kang Ha-ram's words from the previous night. "I saw a dark shadow when the lights went out. It seemed the person was kidnapped, bound to a chair, and the place exploded." Kang Ha-ram had bumped into this person. Next to the old man was a pile of explosives. Black followed the man, but he was discovered. Realizing Black was a police officer, the man suspected betrayal. However, a Grim Reaper can't endure being threatened with a knife by a human. Black quickly pressed the man against the wall and knocked him down. He saw the butterfly watch fall to the ground. Kang Ha-ram went to the boy's mother and also saw a dark shadow. She was about to touch it, but the doctor took the mother away for an examination, accidentally knocking over a photo frame on the table. Kang Ha-ram sat down to look at it and saw a picture of the former cinema owner from years ago. Black asked who the watch belonged to. The man said it was the watch of the cinema owner's son, worn by the murderer. Was the person wearing the watch truly the perpetrator of that heinous crime? The girl saw a dark shadow behind the students, and the next day, the cinema collapsed, killing all 300 students. Their parents cried, demanding justice for their children, but the cinema owner died in a traffic accident. The mother of one student, believing the cinema owner was faking his death to escape punishment because the authorities were ignoring the matter, accepted the compensation money and went abroad to find him. She was insulted by others, and sat by the roadside eating bread, looking for someone resembling the cinema owner, always disappointed. She then became a housekeeper for the owner's second wife, believing he would eventually come. After many attempts, she finally waited for the day, taking pictures as evidence. 15 years later, the father of a victim kidnapped his son, but was caught by Black. He recounted the events of the past 15 years, revealing the explosives on the table were fake. He broadcast the kidnapping to lure the cinema owner into the open. Black agreed to his plan. Seeing Black's lowered guard, he electrocuted him. He then appeared on city screens, exposing the cinema owner's survival. Kang Ha-ram also saw this. They searched for the location where the cinema owner's son was kidnapped. Kang Ha-ram told her boss about the scene she witnessed. He deduced the location based on the lack of traffic on a nearby road, leading them to a warehouse. The victim's father, waiting for the cinema owner, pressed the detonator. The mysterious culprit also pressed the detonator. Seeing Kang Ha-ram in danger, the cinema owner rushed to protect her, but was hit by falling glass. A large fire erupted. They awoke later. Kang Ha-ram remembered the boy's danger, and her boss's leg was trapped under rubble. Black also awoke to find the place had exploded. Kang Ha-ram ran to the boy, finding him lifeless. When she removed his hood, she discovered it was the victim's mother. The victim's father was bewildered. The explosives were fake, so how could they have exploded? It turned out the mysterious culprit orchestrated the deception, swapping the victim's mother with her son. He killed the mother and showed the father, who was filled with regret at seeing his dead wife. The police arrived, pointing guns at him. He no longer wished to live. Before dying, he placed a picture of the cinema owner's son into Black's hand. Black, standing high above, broadcast the news of the cinema owner's survival. His image spread across the nation. He had faked his death. The government issued a warrant for his arrest. The spirits of the victim's parents bowed to Black in gratitude before descending to the underworld. The cinema owner, attempting to flee, was killed by the mysterious culprit. Han Mugang saw two underworld messengers following Yan Hai. As Ha Ram prepared to leave, Mugang embraced her. Ha Ram was flustered. Mugang believed he couldn't let her interfere with his colleague's work. After Yan Hai left, Mugang released her. Ha Ram saw a deadly dark shadow behind a girl. She approached the black smoke. The girl had been carried and thrown from a building, committing suicide. The girl's mother arrived. Ha Ram touched the dark smoke. It was the mother who had thrown her daughter to her death. This left Mugang feeling helpless. Yan Hai realized Ha Ram was an employee of Man. She told Ha Zam about how Man Su had sexually assaulted her on Halloween. Ha Zam immediately confronted his boss, slapping and berating Man Su for violating Yan Hai. At that moment, Man Su saw a news report about himself assaulting a woman, leaving him utterly bewildered. Ha Zam tried to take him to the police, but Man Su insisted he hadn't done it. Back at his company, Man Su faced a throng of reporters. He publicly declared Yan Hai a liar and vowed to make her pay. Meanwhile, Yan Hai's daughter was being bullied at school, taunted as a fox spirit, reducing her to tears. Yan Hai comforted her daughter, telling her they were both fox spirits together. She then confronted the boy who bullied her daughter and made him apologize. The boy's mother arrived, shoving Yan Hai to the ground and accusing her of being a deceitful liar who fabricated the sexual assault accusation. She sneered that even a passing dog would laugh at Yan Hai. As the mother turned to leave, Yan Hai grabbed her hair, sparking a fight. Yan Hai's daughter ran to Mugang, begging him to save her mother, even offering him her only lollipop. However, the cold-hearted Mugang refused to help. A lawyer then approached Yan Hai with a settlement agreement, 10 billion won in exchange for her signature. The agreement required her to admit she seduced Man Su, and that her injuries were self-inflicted. Yan Hai refused to compromise the truth and insisted on clearing her name through public and media channels. The lawyer threatened her with imprisonment and even used her daughter as leverage. Unbeknownst to Yan Hai, her daughter overheard the entire conversation. The next day, the little girl pleaded with Man Su to spare her mother from jail. She even wrote her own name on the settlement agreement, but Man Su remained unmoved, unaware of the lawyer's offer. He angrily called the lawyer, berating him for the unauthorized approach. He then sought out his friends who were present at the Halloween party, but they confirmed seeing him enter Yan Hai's room that night. Man Su then questioned Leo, who claimed to have seen Yan Hai jump from the upper floor of the house, landing injured in the backyard. He vaguely remembered seeing someone upstairs covered in glowing green paint. Man Su. Unable to clear her name, Yan Hai left a message of denial on the rooftop before preparing to jump with her daughter. What drove her to this desperate act? Just days earlier, she had been coerced into a sexual game by a wealthy man, resulting in injuries from a fall. She sought justice through the media, only to be met with public scorn and ridicule. People threw eggs at her, calling her a fox spirit, and accusing her of falsely accusing the wealthy man for money. This lack of public support pushed her to the brink. Ha Zam and Man Su arrived just in time. Man Su knelt before Yan Hai, confessing to coercing her and begging her not to jump. He promised to turn himself in. The dark shadow of despair behind Yan Hai vanished. Ha Zam witnessed everything. Yan Hai noticed the wound on Man Su's neck. It wasn't him. The man who assaulted her wasn't Man Su. She had left a mark on her attacker's neck, but on the right side. Man Su realized in his drunken state that he hadn't done it. Someone else had, and that person had lied. Right then, Ha Zam saw the deathly black shadow appear again behind Yan Hai and Man Su. This meant both of them were about to die, so Ha Zam touched the black smoke. Man Su grabbed her hand and asked her to take care of Yan Hai while he went to find out the truth of the matter. Ha Zam then took Yan Hai to the police station, believing it was the only way to protect her. He glanced at a nearby sausage and realized Ha Zam had mistaken the attacker. The attacker took advantage of an opening, kicked Mugang to the ground, and quickly fled. Mugang tried to pursue him but Man Su grabbed his ankle, begging him for help. Only then did Mugang realize Man Su was still alive. The two Grim Reapers on the bed laughed heartily. Meanwhile, Ha Zam was searching for medicine at Yan Hai's house when a mysterious figure appeared behind her. Ha Zam sensed something but it was too late. The figure strangled her with a rope, and she quickly lost consciousness. The figure dragged her by the feet and dropped her into the bathtub. He picked up a knife, preparing to stage her suicide. Fortunately, Hazam regained consciousness just in time. She grabbed the shower head and hit the figure, injuring him. Then, she turned on the hot water and sprayed it directly in his face. However, the figure still managed to pin her underwater. After struggling for a few minutes, Hazam passed out from exhaustion. Just then, Yanhai arrived home and hit the attacker with the shower head again. She helped Hazam out of the water. It turned out that after Hazam left the police station, Mugang, not wanting her involved with Grim Reaper affairs, had released Yanhai and her mother. Hazam woke up, but the attacker pushed Yanhai down and fled. Sensing they were still in danger, Hazam took Yanhai to Mugang's house. Yanhai mentioned that the man who assaulted her smelled of mugwort. Hazam recalled that Sang Min, O's nephew, also had the same smell. Hazam went to Sang Min's hospital room and saw scratch marks on his neck, presumably made by fingernails. She realized Sang Min was responsible for everything. She prepared to turn him in. Meanwhile, Mugang returned home and discovered his soul orb was missing. He called Hazam to ask about it. "Why are you calling me now?" she asked. "I'm at my boss's hospital room. I've caught Yanhai's attacker. This is so crazy." Then, Mugang heard Hazam scream, realizing she was in danger. He used his teleportation ability to arrive at the hospital room. He found Hazam's phone on the floor, but she was gone. Sang Min had taken Hazam to a secluded area. He then called his father for help, revealing that the framing of Man-Su was orchestrated by his father. Mugang tracked Sang Min's license plate number through surveillance cameras and went to the police station, asking his colleagues to check all street surveillance footage. They finally located Sang Min's car. Sang Min was still waiting for his father. He saw a car approaching and assumed it was his father. However, upon closer inspection, he realized it was Mugang. He immediately took off running. Mugang quickly gave chase, Sang Min swerving around obstacles as a tense car chase ensued. Mugang tried to catch up, but Sang Min continuously blocked him. Seeing this, Mugang resorted to bumping into the back of Sang Min's car. After a few collisions, the trunk of Sang Min's car suddenly popped open. Mugang saw Hazam inside. Concerned for her safety, he stopped ramming the car. Mugang sped up, driving alongside Sang Min, signaling him to stop. But Sang Min ignored him, so Mugang resumed bumping his car. Moments later, an obstacle appeared. Mugang braked quickly, but Sang Min's car hit a rock, throwing Hazam from the trunk. Sang Min continued his reckless driving, leaving Hazam behind. Mugang rushed to Hazam's side, repeatedly calling her name, trying to wake her. Meanwhile, Sang Mai picked up a nearby wrench. Finally, Hazam regained consciousness, and Mugang breathed a sigh of relief. But just then, an enraged Sang Min approached menacingly. He grabbed the wrench and struck Mugang in the head. Then, picking up a steel bar from the ground, he yelled, "You dare defy me? Do you know who I am?" He lunged at Mugang with the bar. Hajiam shielded Mugang. In a decisive moment, Mugang grabbed the steel bar. Just then, Sang Min heard police sirens and realized he was trapped. The Hell's Messenger was unconscious. Shortly after, Sang Min was taken in for questioning. He claimed to have been drunk on Halloween night and had no memory of assaulting the woman. He claimed hitting Mugang was self-defense. His lawyer presented Sang Min's psychiatric records, arguing he was mentally unstable. Furthermore, Sang Min was underage and a first-time offender, and his father had connections to the government and influential figures. As a result, Sang Min was only sentenced to 1 year of probation in South Korea, prohibited from leaving the country. That evening, Man-Su returned home looking for his beloved dog. 2 bodyguards appeared and took him to his older brother. His brother brought Man-Su's dog and threatened to kill it in front of him. Man-Su knelt, begging his brother to spare the dog. "I was wrong, hit me instead." His brother brutally beat him. Me instead. His brother brutally beat him. The dog, trying to protect Mansu, bit his brother. The brother quickly shook off the dog and then beat it to death with a golf club. Since Mansu's mother had died, the dog had been his only comfort. His brother then produced a document relinquishing Mansu's inheritance rights to the Wangus Corporation and forced Mansu to put his fingerprint on it. Meanwhile, Sang-min was enjoying some colorful videos. The next day, he woke up in an airport lobby with his passport in hand. Korean citizens around him started taking pictures with their phones. Frantically searching for his phone, he rummaged through his suitcase, accidentally dropping a bag of white powder. People immediately recognized what it was. He's the Wangus Corporation heir. Sang-min still hadn't grasped the gravity of the situation. News reports surfaced about the large quantity of white powder in his suitcase. Soon after, the police arrested Sang-min. It turned out that Mugang had witnessed everything that happened the previous night. He then snuck into Sang-min's room. The country was lenient with minors, especially wealthy ones. While Sang-min slept soundly, Mugang found the passport and the white powder, took them to the airport lobby, put on a mask, and left with a stylish flair. Meanwhile, the area in Mujin where the collapsed theater once stood was being redeveloped into a high-rise building. During construction, they unearthed a body. Mugang's colleague, also a Hell's Messenger, suddenly dissolved into black smoke. But what connection did this Hell's Messenger have to the body at the construction site? At the construction site, an excavator struck something underground and abruptly stopped. Two workers cautiously investigated, only to uncover another body, leaving them terrified and unsure what to do. Simultaneously, the black smoke enveloped Mugang's fellow Hell's Messenger. He, too, was bewildered by what was happening. Moments later, he transformed into a different form. Why did I suddenly change like this, he wondered. Officer Park explained that when the body is found, the messenger reverts to their original form. The body belonged to a student named Zhu Dong, who died in the Mujin theater collapse years ago. Zhu Dong? Oh, Zhu Dong, my husband, what should I do? She cried. Following this, people protested outside the Wangus Corporation, opposing their development of the former theater site, believing it to be cursed. This worried Chairman Oh Man-ho of Wangus. Meanwhile, Ha-zam returned home to find her mother waiting. Her mother asked if she had seen the shadow of death on her stepfather. Ha-zam confirmed she had, but she didn't want to save her abusive stepfather. Her mother explained that her stepfather couldn't die because Ha-zam's younger brother needed a bone marrow transplant from him. There had been money for the surgery, but her stepfather gambled it away. Still resentful, Ha-zam insisted she wouldn't save him. Faced with her daughter's refusal, her mother remained silent. Later, at home, Ha-zam was about to eat when, looking at the yolk in her bowl, she remembered her innocent brother. She decided to save her stepfather. Wearing sunglasses, she went to the hospital, then removed them. As expected, the shadow of death appeared on her brother. She found her stepfather, but just as she reached out to touch the shadow, he left in a car. Ha-jiam called a taxi and pursued him. However, her stepfather went to borrow more money from loan sharks, becoming their errand boy. While following him, Ha-zam saw the shadow of death appear behind the loan sharks. Unsure what would happen next, she was surprised to see Mugang there. They chased the group in a car. On the way, they encountered the chief of the Criminal Investigation Division, who pulled Mugang out of the car. Ha-zam continued the pursuit alone. The loan sharks, hired by Oh Man-ho of Wangus, clashed with citizens protesting the development. Ha-zam saw the shadows of death crawling over the group. She tried to intervene but was pushed to the ground. She sensed they would die in a fire. Then she saw her stepfather and realized he died saving a child. Mugang arrived and saw Soul Reapers standing near the group. He rushed to protect Ha-zam. An older man entered a makeshift shack. Unbeknownst to anyone, a mysterious figure poured gasoline around it, lit a piece of paper, and threw it at the gasoline. The shack erupted in flames, and the arsonist slipped away unnoticed. Ha-zam, seeing the thick smoke, ran towards it. The chief of the Criminal Investigation Division fired a warning shot into the air. At that moment, a group of thugs and the villagers stopped fighting. Ha-zam ran towards the makeshift house. She found the main door locked with a padlock. Who did this? What should I do? This is so troublesome, she cried. Is anyone there? An elderly man broke the window. Ha-zam looked inside and saw the children. They were covered in deadly black shadows. Just then, Mu Gang saw smoke rising in the distance and rushed over. Hazam tried to break the lock with a rock, but it was no use. Mu Gang saw the makeshift house covered in soul-collecting messengers. "Come over here and help me," he urged the old man. "But you're also a Grim Reaper. You can't interfere in human affairs. If you do, you'll be banished to the 18th level of hell and boiled in a cauldron of oil," the man replied. Mu Gang remembered what Seun Chun's father had told him. "What do you call children who lose their parents? They're called orphans. But what do you call parents who lose their children? They're not called anything because it's too terrible. It's nothing at all." So, he decided to save the children. He pushed Hiram aside and used all his strength to bend the bars on the window. One by one, he carried the children out. At that moment, the police captain and the parents arrived. The captain shot the lock off the door, and several more children were rescued just in time. Hazam rushed into the burning makeshift house. Mu Gang followed her in. He scooped up a child in his arms, feeling certain this was the boy her stepfather wanted to save. Then, Mu Gang carried Hazam to safety. After the incident, Hazam thanked her stepfather for saving her brother. Meanwhile, Oh Man Ho called the mysterious person and asked why they had locked the door. "I only meant to scare them," the person replied. "It seems the mastermind is playing tricks. I'm very sorry." "Who locked the door and put them in mortal danger?" Man Ho demanded. When Hazam arrived at her brother's operating room, she was relieved to see the black shadows were gone. Later, the little girl came home from school and was shocked to see a thick black smoke rising behind her father. She reached out and touched the deadly black smoke, realizing that her father had been pushed from a tall building by an assassin with a spider tattoo on his hand. That night, Hazam's father fought the assassin to save the boy. He quickly overpowered the assassin, but as he was about to take him to the police station, the assassin suddenly attacked from behind and ruthlessly ended his life. Then, he threw the body from the tall building. The next morning, little Hazam saw her father's body at the crime scene. She saw the elderly man with the tattoo on the back of his hand and recognized him as her father's killer. By the time she told the police, the assassin had already left. Back at his home, realizing Hazam had recognized his spider tattoo, he used a hot iron to erase it. 20 years later, Hazam visited the assassin's sister-in-law. She saw the black smoke rising behind the woman and touched it, realizing that she was about to be murdered by her brother-in-law. "I told you my brother-in-law is dead," Hazam cried, pulling the woman back. "He's going to kill you. Run away." Not knowing what else to do, the woman called the police. "There's a serial killer about to commit a crime here," she told them. At that moment, a refrigerator truck passed by. Hazam sensed the killer was inside the woman's house. She pulled a chair over and climbed inside. When Hazam entered, she found the woman lying in a pool of blood. As she checked for a pulse, she had a vague feeling that someone was watching her. She grabbed a fruit knife and approached the curtains. When she pulled them back, the killer was gone. She went to the window and saw him about to leave. She ran down the stairs and secretly followed him. She saw the killer get into a truck and followed it to a deserted area. Hazam quickly took the fruit knife from her bag and stumbled towards the truck to check, but the killer had vanished without a trace. Suddenly, a strong hand pulled Hazam to the ground. She got up, pointed the knife at the killer, and accused him. "You killed my father, didn't you?" "I know you killed him." She lunged at the killer, but she was no match for him. He kicked her to the ground, took the knife from her hand, and held it to her throat. "Who's your father?" he sneered. "Kang Suk, he was a criminal investigator." Hazam took advantage of the killer's momentary distraction, bit his hand hard, and quickly picked up the knife from the ground, preparing to attack again. The Grim Reaper arrived at Hazam's house and found a photo on the floor. He picked it up and saw it was a picture of the serial killer, Kwang Il. Mu Gang realized Hazam had gone after Wang Yongchun. He immediately teleported to the killer's sister-in-law's house and found her lying in a pool of blood. The police captain also arrived at the scene. The police had found Wang Yongchun through nearby security cameras, and Hazam was following him on her bike. Mu Gang sensed Hazam was in danger, so he called her while searching for her. Hazam couldn't answer the phone. Just then, Mu Gang saw Hazam's shoe on the ground. He continued searching and then saw the police at another crime scene. Mu Gang went inside and found a phone next to a pool of blood. It was Hazam's. Elsewhere, the Grim Reaper discovered a soul orb in the hospital basement. It belonged to Mu Gang. He opened it and saw Hazam inside. Mu Gang desperately searched for Hazam in the pouring rain. He received a call. The forensic results were back. They confirmed the blood at the second crime scene was Hazam's. If someone her size lost more than 2 liters of blood, they couldn't survive. Mu Gang's heart couldn't calm down. He returned to the second crime scene and, judging by Hazam's position, vowed to find Wang Yongchun. The next morning, Mu Gang opened Hazam's phone and listened to her recorded report. He heard a refrigerator truck passing by. Mu Gang checked the time and went to the scene of the crime. He wanted to compare the time of Hazam's report with the time the truck passed and find the driver. A while later, the refrigerator truck arrived. He approached the driver and asked if he had seen anyone suspicious around there yesterday. "I accidentally bumped into a parked refrigerated truck, but strangely, its license plate was completely erased. I called the contact number on the truck several times, but no one answered. So, I left my contact information, but no one contacted me." Mu Gang asked the driver for the suspect's phone number from the truck. He then tracked the number to the suspect's house. Arriving at the warehouse, he found bloodstains on the floor leading to a refrigerator. He opened the refrigerator, but it was empty. When he turned around, he saw a shoe. At that moment, he remembered Hazam's other shoe and rushed to check, but discovered it wasn't her. Mu Gang finally breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, the crazed killer, Wang Yongchun, returned home. Mu Gang immediately attacked him, demanding to know where Hazam was. "I'll take you to her body," Wang Yongchun taunted, making Mu Gang burst into tears. The killer then drove Mu Gang to find Hazam. Unexpectedly, Wang Yongchun went into a frenzy, boasting, "Hazam really let me fully enjoy the feeling of killing." Hearing this, Mu Gang relentlessly punched Wang Yongchun. Just then, the car crashed into a tree. Mu Gang drifted into a daze while Wang Yongchun grabbed a hammer and repeatedly struck Mu Gang's heart. "This is the most tenacious lunatic I've ever seen," he exclaimed, hammering Mu Gang's heart before dumping him in a deserted field and driving away. Leo was filming in the hospital, guarded by the mysterious figure. The crazed killer had infiltrated the hospital, targeting Leo. As Leo rested in the break room, the mysterious figure arrived. "Please move to the next room. Someone needs to use this one," he said, forcing Leo to leave. The mysterious figure knew the killer was coming for Leo. As Leo left, the killer entered, unaware that the person inside wasn't Leo. As he prepared to attack, the mysterious figure grabbed his knife and pulled off his blindfold. At that moment, Mu Gang walked in, surprising the killer, who had just supposedly killed him. Mu Gang demanded Hazam's location and attacked, but the killer escaped. The police spotted the killer in the hospital lobby, but he knocked them down. Mu Gang continued his pursuit. The killer grabbed a police officer's gun and fled the hospital. Outside, he knocked out a bus driver, hijacked the bus with all its passengers, and escaped. Mu Gang chased the bus, yelling for the killer to stop. The police captain arrived and saw Mu Gang. Mu Gang jumped into the police car and continued the pursuit. "Park your phone, give me your phone." "Wait, I want to get in too." Mu Gang informed the captain the killer had a gun. "He stole a police officer's gun? Damn it, hurry up, step on it." He called for backup while continuing the chase. Soon, they caught up to the bus. Mu Gang repeatedly yelled for the killer to stop, but he wouldn't listen. The captain tried to use his radio to subdue him, but seeing the gun, he retreated. Mu Gang told the captain to get closer, and then jumped onto the bus. A tense struggle ensued. The killer tried to shoot Mu Gang, who wrestled the gun away. Mu Gang choked the killer, demanding to know Hazam's location. Another officer arrived in a car, but unbeknownst to Mu Gang, this officer was a traitor working for the mysterious figure. He wanted to kill the killer to protect the mysterious figure's identity. A shot rang out, hitting Mu Gang in the head. However, as the Grim Reaper, Mu Gang was immortal. He continued choking the killer, demanding Hazam's whereabouts. Just as the killer was about to speak, another shot rang out, hitting him in the head. Mu Gang jumped off the bus as more police cars arrived. He ran to the killer, demanding Hazam's location, but the killer was dead. "Where is Hazam? Tell me, where is she? You bastard." Mugang watched as the Grim Reaper prepared to take the killer's soul. The killer simply looked at Mugang and turned to leave. Drained, Mugang collapsed, still unsure if Hazam was alive or dead. His mind was in turmoil. As paramedics prepared to take him to the hospital, he remembered finding a key under the bridge. He ripped out his Roman 4 and went to the bridge, where he found the metal door with the large padlock. Shining his flashlight inside, he saw Hazam sitting there. He ripped the bars apart and rushed to her side. Thinking she was dead, he held her close, apologizing for being too late. He gently leaned her against the wall. Suddenly, Hazam made a noise. Mugang realized she was alive. When Hazam woke up, she mistook him for the killer and pushed him away. She seemed to have endured a great ordeal. She suddenly embraced the stranger beside Mugang. Mugang recognized him as Man Su, the second son of the Wang group. It turned out that when the killer was about to finish Hazam, Man Su had intervened, knocking him down. But the killer got up and repeatedly kicked Man Su. As he advanced on Hazam again, Man Su grabbed his leg, giving Hazam a chance to escape. The killer continued to kick Man Su. When the killer approached Hazam with a knife, Man Su threw himself at him, taking the knife in the back. "No, director," Hazam cried. She hit the killer with a rock and dragged Man Su into the enclosure under the bridge. Man Su was in critical condition. Hazam tore a piece of her clothing to bandage his wound. "Director, please hold on," she pleaded. She tried to call for help, but there was no signal. The killer arrived. Hazam remembered her brother's words. "If you're in danger, the safest thing to do is lock yourself up, and the enemy won't be able to get to you." She closed the metal door, locked it with the large padlock, trapping herself and Man Su inside. The crazed killer lunged at them, slashing with his knife. The key fell outside. The killer picked it up, but then changed his mind. "If there are two of you, the road to the underworld won't be lonely. Enjoy this pain." He threw the key into the water and left. They were eventually rescued and taken to the hospital. Mugang's stepfather looked at them with a strange expression. How are they still alive? The day the man became chairman of the Wang Group, amidst the applause of the shareholders, Detective Park arrived to arrest him. The arrest attracted media attention. Detective Park announced that Chairman Oh had colluded with the killer's sister-in-law to have the killer, Wang Yang-chun, admitted to a mental hospital. This enraged Chairman Oh. "You have the right to remain silent," Detective Park advised. Detective Park suspected that because actress Lee Yeon-hee was Oh Man-ho's close friend, the killer had targeted her. "Close friend? Who's my close friend?" Oh Man-ho retorted. Detective Park also suspected Oh Man-ho had killed Han Jin-soo, showing a picture of a watch that belonged to Oh Man-ho, but he denied it. Celebrating the arrest at a restaurant, Detective Park and his team were unaware that arresting Oh Man-ho could cost them their lives. As Detective Park was about to go to the restroom, he accidentally knocked over a bowl of food from a nearby table. "I'm sorry. What's wrong?" Bending down to pick up a bag from the floor, he saw a doll and seemed to realize something. He immediately dropped the bag and left. At this time, Detective Park's colleagues had almost finished their drinks. Just then, the captain of the second team, the traitors, suddenly received a call on Detective Park's phone. It turned out that the mysterious person had called using Detective Park's phone. It seemed he had done something. Detective Park, his body covered in wounds, crawled out of the car. At this moment, the mysterious person crouched in front of him, showing him a watch. It turned out that everything was caused by the cold-blooded murderer, Oh Chun-yeon, and Oh Man-ho was not the real culprit. So who was he? Hazam was holding the phone, watching a video of Mugang arresting the cold-blooded killer. In the video, Mugang kept asking where Hazam was. At this time, she realized she had misunderstood Mugang. Mugang approached and said goodbye to Hazam. As Mugang was about to leave, Hazam ran up and hugged him tightly. After that, she used a physical action to express her feelings. They became a couple as they wished. At this time, a strange pattern appeared on Mugang's neck. Just then, Hazam's mother passed by and saw her daughter in love. She didn't want to disturb them. But upon closer inspection, she was extremely surprised because 20 years ago, her daughter had gone missing, and she had reported it to the police for help in the search. At this moment, Hazam's father appeared, holding his daughter's hand. The woman's soul saw the hell messenger, Mugang, and ran away. Mu Gang hurriedly chased after her, because that soul was Zhu Dong, whom he had been searching for so long. At this time, Zhu Dong tried to hide in the washing machine. Seeing that the Hell Messenger had discovered him, he hurriedly fled. Mu Gang used his instantaneous teleportation ability and hid in the closet. At the same time, Zhu Dong also wanted to use instantaneous teleportation. He opened the warehouse door, unexpectedly being caught and strangled by the Hell Messenger. Suddenly, a car rushed forward, sending Mu Gang flying. When Mu Gang woke up, he found himself in the hospital. At this time, Hazam came to visit Mu Gang. Unexpectedly, she saw black smoke appearing in the doctor's body. She asked, "Why did he die? If the shadow is inside him, he will surely die quickly." Coincidentally, Mu Gang heard these words. He instantly teleported to the doctor's office. Taking advantage of the doctor's unguarded moment, he strangled him. Mu Gang suspected that Zhu Dong had possessed this doctor. He pointed a gun at him, demanding him to appear. When the soul escaped from the body, Mu Gang breathed a sigh of relief. But that soul was not Zhu Dong. Who was she? It turned out that this woman lived at the end of the Joseon dynasty. Unable to bear her husband's abuse, she killed him and then hanged herself. Her soul had hidden in human bodies for hundreds of years without being discovered by the Hell Messenger. Mu Gang intended to take her down to hell to atone for her sins, but the old woman told Mu Gang that if he released her, she would tell him about the porridge body exchange case of Kim Jun that he was investigating. Do you really know where Kim Jun's body is? Based on the address the old woman had given, Mu Gang instantly teleported to Leo's house. He found the laptop in the closet. If my father's tape is revealed, then you guys can't live either, according to what the video said. He found the abandoned hospital in Muin. When he entered the hospital, he clearly sensed Kim Jun's body lying on the operating table. At this time, Mu Gang remembered that he was Kim Jun when he was alive. His tears flowed uncontrollably. Afterward, relying on his memories when he was alive, he went to the beach and silently jumped into the water. He saw a car in the water and a body inside the car. He picked up a stone and smashed it against the car window. Are you me? Are you really me? Looking at the body inside, he remembered everything at this moment. It turned out that 20 years ago, he had witnessed the cold-blooded killer murder Clara. That scene was also seen by Sai-young. The killer discovered Sai-young and chased after Kim Jun. To save Sai-young, Kim Jun used the tape to distract the killer. But when Kim Jun hid in the warehouse, he was still discovered by the killer. As the killer was about to kill Kim Jun, Hazam's father arrived in time to stop everything. The killer also fled the scene. Afterward, Hazam's father asked Kim Jun what just happened. Before he could finish, Kim Jun was shot in the head. Hazam's father chased after the person who shot Kim Jun, while Kim Jun's younger brother, Han Mu Gang, fell unconscious due to a seizure. Fortunately, a good person saved the boy. Kim Jun, with wounds on his body, limped to a public telephone booth and called for help. His stepmother soon arrived at the scene and took Kim Jun into the car. On the way home, she received a call from a colleague at the hospital reporting that her son was suffering from a coronary artery blockage and needed an immediate heart transplant. Otherwise, her son, Han Mu Gang, would die. Shortly after, a brutal thought entered her mind. She went to the hospital and removed Kim Jun's heart. Then, with her colleague, she transplanted Kim Jun's heart into Han Mu Gang's body. Next, she staged a fake car accident for Kim Jun and pushed both Kim Jun and his car into the sea. It must be said that this stepmother was truly not a kind person. The Hell Messenger, Kim Jun, remembered everything and wanted to escape Han Mu Gang's body. He repeatedly shot himself in the head. But no matter what, his soul couldn't escape the body, because Han Mu Gang's heart was originally his. Then, he went to his stepmother, threw her a dismissal notice, and asked her, "Why did you replace the heart of your stepson, Kim Jun, with that of your biological son?" "Mu Gang, mother did everything to save you." At that time, mother really had no other choice. If Han Mu Gang didn't have a heart transplant, he would have died. "I will definitely send you to hell." Then, he went home and looked at the contents on the laptop. It turned out that Han Mu Gang had investigated the truth that his mother had transplanted Kim Jun's heart into him. Therefore, even though Leo was about to die, he only watched without saving him. because he was afraid that if the matter was exposed, it would harm his mother. So, he threw the evidence in the trash and left. At this time, Kim Jones still didn't understand who had shot him that day. He suspected Kim Wyzok was the one who shot him that day. At this moment, he saw on the news that Congressman Kim Wyzok had been declared not guilty due to lack of concrete evidence. Wanting to find the tape recording Congressman Kim Wyzok forcing himself on Saw Why, Kim Jun went to the warehouse where he was shot in the head to look for the tape. At this time, he saw bullet holes on the wall, and these bullet holes were not left by Kim Wyzok's hunting rifle. At this moment, Hazam came looking for him, using Kim Jun's phone's location. But how did you know about this place? How do you know this place? It turned out that 20 years ago, when Hazam was returning home from school, she saw the shadow of death behind her father. At night, fearing for her father's safety, she followed him to the warehouse. When Hazam entered, she saw a black smoke in front of her father. Just as she was about to go forward to find her father, her foot kicked her father's gun. That's right, just make the shadow disappear, and her father wouldn't die. So, she picked up the gun on the ground and shot at the black smoke. Therefore, it wasn't Kim Wyzok who shot him, but Hazam. In order to save her father, she unintentionally shot Kim Jun. Now Kim Jun knew everything. His head began to ache strangely. This is the most lovesick hell messenger I have ever seen. He didn't want to reveal the truth that Hazam had shot him years ago, and he didn't want the authorities to continue investigating Kim Jun's case that year. It was actually because he didn't want Hazam to be hurt. He scolded Hazam. Do you know how unlucky you are? Because of your unlucky eyes, Because he knew that a hell messenger couldn't be with a human, he drove her out of his house. Next, Hazam's mother came to Mugang. She asked, "Why did you scold my daughter, calling her a monster? Didn't you tell me to get lost? I had to do that to be able to leave her smoothly. I will leave as you wish, so rest assured and wait." Hazam went home and thought about what Kim Jun had said to her. Do you know how unlucky you are? Because of your unlucky eyes, unable to bear the shock, she picked up chopsticks and tried to destroy her yin-yang eyes. At this time, Kim Jun rushed over and stopped her. What are you doing? After returning home, he personally destroyed the evidence of his death. Detective Park asked why he destroyed it. Mugang said that he wanted to live under the name Han Mugang and live sweet days with Hazam. Detective Park said nothing more. The next day, he took Hazam to the hospital. The doctor told Hazam that a bullet was lodged in Mugang's brainstem. Sometimes the patient would become unusually aggressive, but in reality, it was completely unrelated to the patient's will. At this time, Hazam believed that Mugang's words from last night were lies. Mugang said that in a few days, he would go to America, find a specialist, and remove the bullet from his head. After that, he went to see Saw Why and asked when she would go. Saw Why said that Kim Y.S. had been released. She wouldn't go to America anymore. Tomorrow, she would meet the media and give an interview, exposing the bad things he had done, but doing so would ruin Saw Why's life. I don't care about my life, Mugang said. You do care, he continued. You have a way to bring Kim Wyzok to justice. Then, he asked Saw Why a favor, asking her to take good care of Kim Jun's mother. If she has to go to America, then take Kim Jun's mother with her. Seeing that his mother had someone to take care of her, he felt relieved and left. Then, he went to find Leo. He knew that Leo was dead, and Leo now was only the soul of Yijun. Because before, he had seen the symptoms after Leo's death on the computer. Sure enough, the Hell Messenger had guessed correctly, but he wouldn't send Yijun to hell to atone for his sins. He wanted Yijun to live as a human and take care of Hazam. Then, he took a gun intending to kill Kim Wyzok to ensure Hazam's safety. When he entered the office, he discovered that Kim Wyzok had committed suicide. Then he returned to the car. He couldn't have committed suicide, who ultimately killed him. Wanting to find the culprit, he went to Kim Wyzok's house. At this time, he recalled his childhood memories with Leo. When he was young, Kim Run accidentally saw Sa Young and the mayor engaging in prostitution at Leo's house. To protect Sa Wai, he buried the tape in the secret base he and Hazam had agreed upon. But when Kim Run got there, he discovered that someone had taken the tape. Hazam's life-threatening danger hadn't disappeared. This tape was the real reason why Hazam was in danger. Sure enough, Hazam had taken this tape the day before. When she got home, she was shocked by the contents of the tape. Then, she intended to take the tape to the police station. But unexpectedly, the mysterious person stopped her right in front of the door. The girl was trapped in the swimming pool, and the police were also captured by them. Then, the police were brutally beaten because they knew some secrets of the mayor. Then, the mayor came. It was all done by the... It's all the mayor's doing. All because of this tape showing him having a relationship with Sal Y. The mayor has killed countless people. At this point, Hazam swore she would absolutely not hand over the tape. The mayor instructed his subordinates to get the tape by any means necessary, and then leave. The mysterious person took the police hostage, beating them severely, and forcing Hazam to hand over the tape or else they would die. Hazam couldn't take it anymore, and was about to reveal the truth. Unexpectedly, the police advised Hazam that even if she died, she must not reveal the tape's location. The mysterious person then ordered his subordinates to take them away, and afterward, again forced Hazam to reveal the tape's location. Seeing that Hazam still didn't react, a moment later, Kim Run pulled Hazam up and gently laid her on the ground. He moved forward and began to fight, quickly subduing the group of henchmen. Next was the mysterious person. Kim Run grabbed the knife from the mysterious person's hand and plunged it deep into his stomach. Then, he kicked him into the swimming pool and threw the electric wire into the water. Next was the mayor. He was seen elegantly drinking champagne, but unexpectedly, a gun was pointed at his head. It turned out to be Kim Jun. The next day, while Hazam was in the hospital, her mother gave her a letter. It turned out that the letter was sent by Kim Jun. The contents stated that Kim Jun had removed the bullet from his head while in America, telling Hazam to rest assured and live a good life. Han Mugang's mother, because she had killed Kim Jun, blamed herself and committed suicide by taking poison, leaving behind a suicide note. She stated that Kim Jun's body was at the bottom of the sea, below the Muin cliff, along with all her guilt. Hazam went to the police station and accidentally overheard a criminal investigator talking about the contents of Kim Jun's mother's suicide note. She also learned that when she was a child, she didn't shoot the black smoke, but Kim Jun. So she rushed into the police station and asked them to check Han Mugang's departure records. Unexpectedly, they had already checked and did not find any departure records for Han Mugang. At this time, another criminal investigator holding a video filmed at the Muin cliff approached. They saw that Han Mugang had jumped from the Muin cliff. Afterward, Hazam went to the Muin cliff and intended to jump down after Han Mugang. Meanwhile, Kim Jun was undergoing punishment in the heavens. He requested the heavens to give him the severest punishment, because the old woman had previously told him that the severest punishment in the heavens was to return to nothingness, causing everyone who had known him to forget him. Kim Jun entered and received his punishment, while Hazam returned to being a normal person, no longer seeing the shadows of death. A few years later, Zhu Dong promised Kim Jun that he would take care of Hazam for life on her 100th birthday and gave her a gift. When Hazam opened the gift, she found a red string inside. She looked at it and suddenly remembered everything. This red string was the one she had given to Kim Jun. Tears flowed uncontrollably. The next day, Hazam could not withstand the flow of time and passed away. At that moment, Hazam's soul also left her body, and Kim Jun was waiting beside her. Hazam tied the red string around Kim Jun's hand and gave herself to him.